Welcome, I am Ralph Michaels. We are breaking down the gold sheet number 18. And guys, make sure you stay tuned to the end. I have an 85% system that applies this season. The record 23-4, I'll break it down in the end in our Bettor's Edge. We start every video with the Vegas expectations. What are the current odds for this Ole Miss team going into the season? We're recording this July 9th to give you some idea of if the line moves when you're watching this. National championship, 15-1. To win the SEC, 6-1. To make the college football playoff, yes, minus 130, no, plus 100. Season win total at 9.5. The over, minus 115. The under, you lay 105. To go undefeated, they're plus 650 to go undefeated. They are minus 1,200 with one loss. And the Heisman, plus 1,500, 15-1 odds for Jackson Dart. Before we break down and look at what Ole Miss did last year, folks, we have many more videos to do. Please comment below what you like, what you dislike. If you think our assessment of Ole Miss is wrong, how many wins do you think Ole Miss is going to get? And I also want to remind you, the Gold Sheet newsletter, the finest weekly newsletter in the country. You can save $30 off the annual football subscription. Just go to wagertalk.com or goldsheet.com and use code GS30. Let's break down that Ole Miss team. Let's take a look back at 2023. Stat-wise, well, I always start off with yards per play diff, the offensive yards per play minus the defense. They were number 32 at plus 1.0 yards per play. Offensive yards per game, number 13 on offense, number 70 on defense. Points per game, number 16 on offense, number 40 on defense. They played the number 31 toughest schedule. When you break those ranks down, efficiency on offense 31, defense in the bottom 20 in college football. We'll see what happens this year with a lot of returning starters. They did have 11 wins for the first time in school history. They went 7-6 against the spread, 6-7 over/under. FYI, high total, 61.5 or higher. They did go 4-0 against the spread against teams that have poor defenses. They did go 4-0 in one-score games. That's something you have to look at, that a lot of times it comes back to the median. They led Bama in a loss, 7-6 at half. And again, their only other loss on the year was Georgia. So the teams they were better than, they did very well. Strong offensive lines, ran the ball over them. Boy, I'll tell you what, folks, you look at that Bama game, they actually only allowed 356 yards, but 24 points. They were number 116 in time of possession. Why? Their offense plays at a decent place. But their defense, again, has been poor against the rush attack, so teams could run the ball against them. They were also number 118 in penalties. The year before, Kiffin's team was number 98. So they've been semi-undisciplined. We'll see if that continues as well. Let's take a look at the 2024 team, and we'll start with the conference cheat sheet. You see, their power rating number is an 11. Remember, Gold Sheet's best team starts at a 0, and so this means we have Mississippi 11 points difference from Georgia. Returning starters 13, 7 on offense, 6 on defense. They're number 23 in returning production. They do, of course, return their QB and their coaches. And recruiting rank, they were number 17 overall and 10 in the SEC. Think about that, folks. Think how strong the SEC is recruiting. Ole Miss was number 10 in the conference, but number 17 in the country. Well, as I said, 13 returning starters, the number 23 as far as production goes in Connolly's numbers. But their past returning starters, 16, 12, and 17. So they've had quite a few returning starters. They brought in a lot of transfers this year. They're the number 1 transfer class. 24 transfers, and 7 or 8 of them will start. They did lose 3 players to the draft last year, but all 3 were late round draft choices. They only lost 4 points in my draft guide points lost. In 2023 and 2022, respectively, they lost 4 and 6 players and lost 10 and 14 points. Dart, 23-5 ratio. Third year in the system, folks, that is the time when you see many offensive quarterbacks shine. I guess all quarterbacks are offensive quarterbacks, but when a coach and a quarterback have been together in the system for that many years, that's really when you look for a team to take the next step up. They did lose a 1,200-yard rusher, but they brought in several running backs that started for their teams last year. Well, guys, the Ole Miss defense, obviously their weak unit last year. The defense lost three of their top 5 tacklers. And here's an interesting note. They do lose Ashante Sistrunk. He was the number 2 tackler last year and had 0 starts. So when you think you have lost a starter, starters aren't always the most productive players, especially on defense where you can have some powerful people that don't start. Perhaps they line up in a traditional formation, then they bring in those nickelbacks. But again, the number 2 tackler without making a start last year, the transfer portal again, they bring in quite a few players. You look at their units, their receivers, their D-line, their running back and their quarterbacks are by far their best units. Again, Dart has a chance to be something very special this year. Looking at the 2024 schedule, you'll see that they are a favorite of 9 or more in 9 games. Against LSU, we project them to be a 2-point dog. Home against Oklahoma, a 6-point favorite. And against Georgia at home, an 8-point dog. They play the first 7 games without a bye. Then, when you look at that end of the schedule, when they go to South Carolina on October 5th, playing their 6th straight game, South Carolina is off a bye. When they travel to LSU the next week, LSU is off a bye. That is a horrific scheduling situation for them in mid-October. Their best schedule spot against Florida late in the year. They are off a bye. They'll be playing Georgia. They have a bye, and then they play Florida. So you have a late season bye, very productive. And who is Florida off of? They are off Georgia, at Texas, and LSU, and they have Florida State on deck. This might be one of the most powerful scheduling spots of the entire season. We'll keep an eye on it if that comes to fruition. And we finish every video with the Bettor's Edge. Folks, if you like this content, please give us a thumbs up. Please comment below. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. As I said, let's start off with how I started this video. An 85.2% system. This one is shocking to me because if you ask most people, if a team is an SEC away dog and they're playing the second of back-to-back road games with no rest, going back to 2022, you might think that's a very difficult scheduling spot. How surprising is this? If you are an SEC away dog playing a second straight road game with no rest, those teams have gone 23-4-1, 85.2% since 2022. So while I said earlier, when Ole Miss has to go at South Carolina and LSU playing the 7th straight road game, do keep this system in mind. Lane Kiffin at home, 20-38 over-under. That is 65.5% to the under. So when he's at home, he does like to run the ball. He does like to go with pace, but they still have been an under team. Ole Miss, when they're a dog or a small favorite to -6, they're only 9-15 against the spread. So basically, when they are the inferior team or a similarly talented team, a favorite to -6, 37.5% against the spread. But as a favorite of -6.5 and higher, they've gone 14-9, 61% against the spread. Remember, GS30, the code to save $30 off Gold Sheet. Take a look at my college football early bird or the NFL college football combo, just $777. Check it out, wagertalk.com, and stay tuned to see who our number 9 team is.